welcome to the Millionaire Mindset X, where we bring people to the table for multiplied conversations. Here, we do not gatekeep, but we give you access to help you switch your mind from lack to abundance. I am your host, Fire Ash, and if you are ready to take your mindset to the next level, I just want to say, hey, friend, welcome to the table. So, on today, I have with me my sister from the internet streets, but you would think that we knew each other because of how amazing our first connection was. So, I want to tell you a little bit about my sister. My sister, Miss Jana, is the founder of Meet Jana England. She is a certified trauma recovery facilitator and a mindset coach. Jana's voyage into the realm of healing and personal growth began against a backdrop of a personal upheaval in 2017. Facing a life threatening illness and navigating through the end of a toxic marriage, this period of intense challenge brought to the forefront the compound traumas of her childhood, leading her to a pivotal moment of seeking hope and a new foundation. Armed with a rich background as a certified medical assistant and entrepreneur in 2020, she pursued a path of significant change, leaving her established career to explore deeper meaning and balance in life. Through her commitment to healing her whole self, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, Jana has discovered the strength within her struggles, turning her past pain into a beacon of light for others. Today, she is passionately committed to guiding others as they transform their own legacies of trauma into pillars of healing, freedom, and peace. Her journey is a testament to the belief that despite life's disappointments, we can unearth positives in all hardships, using them as fuel for growth and self discovery. Residing at the time in Colorado with her three children, Jana finds joy and inspiration in the mountains, embracing adventures and kayaking, hiking, skiing, spending cherished moments with her family. Join Janet and discover how, and despite life setbacks, we can harness your hardships and create your own beauty from the ashes of your past and live your best life. So, Miss Jana, I want to ask you my famous question I love to ask everybody. Who is Jana beyond the bio?
Jana Beyond the Bio is, I think that the one word that I can say is passionate and compassionate and understanding. That's three words, but compassion, you have to have walked through the messy parts of life to truly embrace compassion.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been through it, it's hard to be able to show it to others. And that is really in a nutshell who I am. And I walk boldly now where I used to hide my voice
Yeah.
and unapologetically who I am. And I feel like I'm powerful and bold
Yes.
and a sister in Christ.
I love the powerful and the boldness. I can definitely resonate with that because in the past, because of a lot of the trauma I experienced, I was very insecure. I was very a shell, like I was kind of like a shell of, I would say, who God created me to be. And now I am like the same. I'm like, no, I got boldness and I'm unashamed to live up my purpose and be exactly who God called me to be.
Yeah, that's why we connect so well.
Exactly, exactly. So I know for sure that the audience doesn't know this, but I do, that you recently released a book. Can you tell us the name of the book and what is the book about?
So the book is called Victim No More. And it is my personal story, my journey of transformation and healing from narcissistic abuse, and how I overcame it through the trauma program that I not only went through, but now run on my own business as well. And
Yeah.
the program is phenomenal. And it also includes five other women's stories of what they went through with
Oh,
narcissistic abuse, how they went
yeah.
through the trauma healing program and overcame. And it's not a story about bashing the abuser,
Yeah.
although it's pretty raw and real. It's about transformation and overcoming with God's help, and it is
Mm.
powerful. And it can be found on Amazon. It's called Victim No More.
That looks really nice. So I want to know, when writing this book, what did it take to produce this book? I imagine it wasn't an easy journey, especially because you have to now pour out the things that you've experienced. So, what was it like putting together this book?
Well, I tell you, after my husband left me for another woman, and I was just devastated and healing from the narcissistic abuse a long while being a trauma coach. So I'm walking other people through their own trauma while I'm traumatized. And, I didn't at one point think I could do it. And God said, you can. You're not alone. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
And about a year after I was healing from that, God woke me up in the middle of the night and he said, it's time to write a book. And I laughed and I'm like, I've never written a book. And
Yeah.
I said, okay, God, what does this look like? And he slowly showed me the plan and how it was supposed to include other women and to focus on the healing. And the healing is possible no matter what you've been through, no matter what kind of abuse you've gone through, healing is possible because we serve a God that is greater than us and he can do anything. And I am living proof of that. And it was about a year into the works. And it's been released since June and it's doing well. And I'm just super excited to have it out so that other people can heal as well.
Yes. So I do have some questions that I want to ask on your healing journey, but before we can get to the healing, I want to kind of go backwards and know more about that trauma that you experienced. You said you were in a relationship with a narcissist. Can you take me back to when did the relationship begin? Was it always that way, or did something start happening over time? Like, take me back to the beginning of that relationship.
Sure, sure. Well, I think I have to backstep just a hair before that to say,
Okay.
we don't just fall into toxic relationships overnight. Our programming starts at age 0 to 7, and that's where we learn very early on who we are, our belief system, those limiting beliefs. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not deserving. And growing up with an alcoholic father, I had a lot of that damage programming. And I had found him this new relationship. Um, Believe it or not, my third marriage. I am not proud of that part of my story, and yet I have to own that part of my story. And he entered my life when it was a very broken part of my life, and I was very unhealthy. And I
Yeah.
did not know what healthy was. And I had gone through a devastating health illness that almost killed me. And after I overcame that, I said, God, I want you to shake me upside down, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And I want to experience growth in you like I never have before. Be careful what you ask for, Ashley.
Come on. Tell me about it.
and, and I tell you what, this man entered my life. We ended up having an affair. Knowing all along that it was wrong, but I was just so lost. I didn't, and it was feeding me in the ways that I had never been fed before. And to understand true narcissism, that word is so easily thrown around. And if you truly study narcissism, it starts in phases. And the love bombing starts. They reel you in. They get
Yes.
control of you, and then they slowly start manipulating you to get them completely under their control to shape you into who they want you to be. And
Yeah.
it worked very well for me. And I laid it down. I tried to salvage my other marriage. I started working on myself, and I'm like, God, I don't understand. Like, I wanted to be closer to you. How could this mess be anything to glorify you? And I just felt like a failure, and I was broken and like, who am I and how did this happen? And I just felt like I was in a tornado. And
Yeah.
yet it it's in our brokenness that God can do amazing things. And I surrendered. My other marriage wasn't salvageable. And I really leaned in and started working on me. But by that point, I was brainwashed by the narcissism. I
Mm.
couldn't see it. And while I was working on me, but he still had enough control on me that I was like a puppet, just being like, you jump. He told me to jump. I would say how
Yeah.
high. And just,
Yeah.
and he moved very, very quickly, and I knew I was very uncomfortable with it. And I just wasn't far enough in my healing to have those boundaries and really use my voice. And so I fell under his spell, so to speak. And,
Yeah.
um, things moved very, very fast in the relationship for a reason. And um, next thing you know, after was it barely a year, he was proposing to me, and
Mm.
I'm like, oh, this is the man of my dreams, and he's
Yeah.
giving me everything that I could want, and little, but something felt off, but I just wasn't
Yeah.
strong enough in my healing yet to recognize it. And so we got married during COVID again. Like we went to church thinking God's a part of this, and
Yeah.
deception is so subtle, guys. I cannot stress that enough. The deception is subtle. Check your hearts, and if you feel that gut check, listen to it, because that is the Holy Spirit telling you, hey, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
And I I married him, and within about 6 months, I noticed that things weren't right. And yet I was committed to the marriage. I was by that point very much leaning into God and getting healthy. And I'm like, no, I'm going to pray. God's going to work on him. I'm working on me. I'm building this trauma career about helping other people walk through their trauma. Insight, I had become a certified trauma coach during that time over a span of about 3 years. And there were just moments where I knew the relationship had shifted. He started demeaning me, putting me down,
Mm. Yeah.
um, belittling me, making me second guess myself. The
Come on.
gaslighting started.
Yes.
Um, you know, um, the passive aggressive, 1 minute building me up, the next minute tearing me down.
Yes. Mm.
And if any of you all can resonate with this, I'm telling you, we don't have to sit in silence with toxicity. You
Yes.
don't deserve abuse. You deserve more. And I knew things were off. The more I healed, the more I think he noticed it and did not want me to heal because he
Yes.
could no longer have control of me. And
That part.
I just kept praying, God, work on him. I'm going to work on me. And by then, I was becoming very successful as a coach and
Mm.
really thriving. And I had to leave right before Christmas, right before 2023, and go help my daughter through some mental health issues. And during that time, I noticed he was really distant, very
Mm.
unsupportive, and I knew something was off. And I confronted him, and by text, he basically said, I don't want this marriage, admitted that he
Mm.
had cheated on me with another woman and
Mm.
wanted a divorce. And that was a hard blow. I'm devastated. I'm like, this is my third marriage. I don't want a divorce. I want to make this right.
Yeah.
We had moments where we had fairy tale moments. We traveled. I was seeing amazing parts of the world. So, he would dangle these carrots, making it look so great, and then squash me. And so it was this
Man.
back and forth. Emotional whiplash is what we call that.
That's
And
good.
I prayed for God to restore the marriage, and he served me with divorce paperwork. Um, he hired a lawyer. He moved out very, very abruptly for this other woman. And
Yeah.
um, I don't really want to focus on him. I want to focus on God's healing here. And
Yes.
I was devastated, and I kept praying for restoration. And at a moment, I wanted to die because of the pain was so great.
Yeah.
And I remember laying in bed one night and just crying and going, God, I can't handle this pain. I can't handle this loneliness. And how am I ever going to heal from this? And especially be effective to help others again? And He said, "You got this. I'm going to help you." My team of women that walk along beside me were so supportive. But God said that night, He said, "Jana, you don't get it. I removed him from your
Yeah.
life
Whew.
because you can't do what you're called to do as God's child, living
Come
with a man
on.
like that."
Yes.
And once I got that, Ashley, I just was like, okay, okay, God, I got it, you know? And I was able to release him, release the marriage, and let go of any guilt or shame that was misconceived in my head because it
Yeah.
wasn't me, you know? But
Right.
of course, my own toxic pack, I was still healing. I'm like, what did I do wrong? This is my fault. No, no, and I was able to release all of that and start stepping into my power and allowing God to fully restore everything that was taken from me. And fast forward almost 4 years now, I wrote the book. I'm
Yes.
thriving. My business is thriving. I'm happy.
Yes.
I moved across country to be with my daughter and my granddaughter, and um, just life is good. And I want to tell everybody
Yeah.
out there, if you've suffered from abuse or whatever you're going through in life and you think there is no coming back, I am telling you that I am living proof that it is possible.
Yes. You know, you said so many things that I resonated with, that I felt to my core. And I had to take some notes over here. So the one thing that you mentioned was, you said, you gave us pretty much ways for us to kind of identify like how a narcissist may move. That quick motion. I experienced that. What's interesting is, I dated a narcissist, and I didn't realize I was dating a narcissist until after God delivered me from the situation. And I remember watching a YouTube video, and this woman was explaining the different tendencies of a narcissist. And I was like, wait a minute, check, boom, check, check, check. And so that quick process, I remember when I started dating this guy, it was the quickest process I've ever experienced, where we dated very fast. We became a couple. Families were meeting each other, and the interesting thing is, I was like, oh my goodness, like, this the man of God that He has for me.
I
I was
know,
thinking like, I
I
was thinking
know.
God moves fast.
Yeah. And yeah, and it's and Satan doesn't come at us with a snake at our doorstep. He's going to paint
Yeah.
that man very beautiful or that woman very beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. So I thought for sure, I was like, this is it. This is the one. And I also love that you said deception is subtle. It is very subtle, because again, the way that I encountered the relationship initially, it literally felt like a fairy tale. I felt like
Hmm.
this person understood me. We would joke and laugh, have fun, go places, and then they would kind of not carry me around, but they would kind of like introduce me as this awesome woman that they just absolutely love. And something that I noticed over time while I was dating them was that the people who came before me, they would kind of like bash them, but praise me as their woman. And so towards the end of the duration, what is funny is, my grandmother has said to me, she said, come back to me in 6 months, and then we can talk about if this is a relationship. And so in my mind, if I'm being honest, I was so intent on her being wrong. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna let her know at the 6 month mark, yeah, we made it, and we're gonna make it even more. Why at the 5th month mark, that's when all hell started breaking loose, and
Oh,
God was like, absolutely not. And the best part about it was, that was when it was coming to a close, was when my relationship with God was growing. And I was asking God, I literally asked him that famous question we like to ask: Lord, if this isn't for me, remove it. And what did He do? God started showing me through dreams. He started showing me through the behavior. He started showing me that the fairy tale that I was starting to live in my mind was not existing in my reality. And I love what you said towards the end of the story. God said the same thing to me. God said, I was preserving you. He told me I was preserving your destiny. He told me that the place that I was in was not was pretty much gonna kill my purpose and not allow me to thrive in purpose, on purpose. And so he had to deliver me from it. And something I told a friend recently was, I said, if God cares enough about me to save me from a situation like that, why wouldn't I care enough about my purpose to begin to take it seriously? So even hearing you say, like, 4 years later, look at me. I've produced a book. The business is flourishing. You also said something else that was key. You said when you started to heal, the things that you looked at as far as when it came to him began to shift. And something I've been saying to my family and friends is that the old me, the unhealed me, like certain things. But when I started healing, the things I used to be attracted to, they don't even attract me.
Right? Yeah, it's so true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it shifts. And, that's what's beautiful about growing closer to God as he refines us and he removes those impurities from our life and shows us what is healthy. And you move from unhealed to healed. And it's a journey. We never just arrive. We're
Yeah.
not like, I'm healed. It doesn't work
Exactly.
like that. And it's a lot of two steps forward, one step back. And that's okay.
Right. Yeah.
God's got
It was
us.
something that I thought about listening to you is, so the very thing that you went through, you said you were still in the relationship, and yet you were a trauma coach. And how, if we're looking at your life now, the very thing that you went through is the very thing that you're helping other people develop in, right? And so my question on that topic was there any point where you might have felt like an imposter? Like, who am I to help these people when I have suffered? And if you have experienced that, let me know, how did you overcome that mindset?
That is a great question because with social media, Facebook, Instagram, this started before I became a trauma coach, and
Yeah.
so I would paste on my social media and you know um, look at my life, look at my honeymoon, look where we're going, we're traveling here, we're traveling there, and I love him and he's amazing. And people saw that. And the same
Right.
people saw that also saw my failure, me become single again. And your valid point of like, why should I believe her? She's just a hot mess, you know? God uses our failures and our brokenness for his purpose. So I did.
Yes.
And I would say that I probably had a period of maybe 6 months where I was a little bit afraid to put myself out there, or I really pulled back from posting. And
Yeah.
again, like, are people going to take me credible? But when you get real with yourself and you get real with God, and God can speak to you, and honestly, I just believe that he gave me the strength and the boldness to keep going.
Yes.
And like, I mean, I remember many times he's like, I'm going to use this. So don't even
Yes.
worry about it because I'm going to use it, and I'm going to, this is your calling, all the messy parts of it, because people don't want to come for trauma healing if they see that their therapist is or facilitator is perfect, 'cause
Exactly.
they might be afraid to open up.
Yeah.
People need safety to heal. And
Yeah.
I can be like, girl, I don't care what you've been through. I've probably been through it 3 times. And if
Yes.
I haven't, one of my family members have, you know. And so, um, and I've just learned that, there is no place for judgment. And just be like Jesus. And we trip and we fall.
Yeah.
And when we surrender and we ask for forgiveness, he forgives. And that's how I treat people. And, and the people that are going to judge me and hold judgment on my past or look at my failures, they're not my people. And that's
That part.
okay. You know, they're not my people. And that's okay. So I used to be the biggest people pleaser in the world. Still a work in progress some days, but I have come to realize that authenticity is my friend. And, and if I'm not real and raw in the world, then what am I even doing? Plain and simple.
On the subject of the people pleaser, we kind of switched directions, and I want to go there for a second.
Okay.
As a former people pleaser. I tell people on the podcast, I'm reformed and I'm no longer a part of the people pleasing society. I hung my jacket up. So, as a former people pleaser, I want to know, what is one thing that you had to begin to instill or stop doing that helped you break off being a people pleaser or break away from?
Gosh, that's a good question. I probably my biggest one that comes to mind is when other people would give insight about all those marriages, all the failures, the breakup, family members and friends meaning well. I was trying to listen to 20 different people's
Mm.
opinions,
Yeah,
and no one's mattered but mine and God's.
that's good.
And I realized that, someone would give insight or I would ask someone's advice, well, what should I do? And then I would go and ask 10 other people. All that I ended up with was confusion.
Right, that's
And
good.
God is not the author of confusion. And so I just finally I had to learn, well, and number one, when you go through narcissistic abuse and other kinds of abuse, you lose self trust. And
Right.
so
Whew.
you have to trust yourself again, and that's between you and God healing that part of you. And it was that small, still voice that I had to learn to trust Him first,
Come on.
and then I could learn to trust myself again. And you got to do it in that order, because otherwise you're serving yourself, not God. And I just got cold chills on that one.
Whew.
And so um, once I was able to recognize that and and really just push away those other voices that were trying to, mean well, but thank you for your input. I will consider that. And there are moments to listen to other people and see if they
Right.
like your grandmother, you know. But once I just really like, I need dialogue between God and me, and that's what I need to trust. And nothing else matters. And then I was able to let go. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I have
Yeah,
moments,
for
but
sure.
I've come a long way.
Your answer again has really spoke to me because as someone who's a former people pleaser, I definitely found myself doing similar things. And now I would say for me, my answer has been establishing some boundaries for myself, learning as I learn the healed version of myself, or I like to say I'm healing, not healed, but as
Yeah.
I'm learning what wholeness looks like for Ashley, certain boundaries that I've established don't even allow for me to entertain the things that I used to entertain. I think that for me, a lack of boundaries is what allowed me to continue to want to please people. And I love how you mentioned the lack of trust within yourself, because let me tell you, I felt the same way. I felt like I couldn't trust myself to make decisions. And I was like, I can't lead myself nowhere because clearly, look at this hot mess I just led myself into and needed somebody to rescue me. And I
Mhm.
love how you prioritize saying, once you learn to trust him, now you can trust you, because number one, your direction is now coming from him and not of you. You're submitting and surrendering yourself to receive his direction on what you should do, what and how you should move. And even now, I'm finding myself making different decisions. And one of the things that I've been liking to prioritize is literally being in a posture of surrender, to where I'm asking God about what's happening over here. Even if there's like there's an occasion where the people pleasing is trying to happen, I'm asking the Lord, like, what should I do? Is this guilt because I just want to, I what actually, let me reset that. God has had to deliver me from this superhero complex, this savior complex, where I think I'm supposed to save somebody instead of directing them to the savior. And I think this conversation is so on time because this is something that God is literally continuing to help me with. I think my people pleasing, my people pleasing was based off of, I thought that if I could help people, that's where my worth came. So the more I could help you, the more I felt worthy of love. It wasn't that you could just show up and love me. No, I had to feel like I did something to deserve your love. But then God had to chastise me and remind me that we were saved by grace through faith. We didn't have to do anything for us to be saved. He saved us off of the love that he had for us. And I had to realize that if I don't have to perform for his love, I should not have to perform for others.
That is so, so true. And yeah, you just nailed every bit of that. And to expand on that,
Yeah.
our programming that I was just saying in the beginning that we develop from birth to age 7, depending on what that is and what kind of childhood trauma you've had, sometimes those programming is deep. And it's one thing to, okay, I'm going to think positive and I don't have to have this
Come on.
performance based worth. Sometimes that has to be healed and rewired in the brain.
Yeah.
And that's why I am just so passionate about this trauma recovery program that I run, because with God, it's very safe, but we go in and through guided meditation and through God's help, we rewire some of those limiting beliefs and those behaviors that keep us stuck and blocked.
Yeah.
Um, and it happens by getting into the subconscious, because 96% of everything that we do is coming from our subconscious. And so we
That's
do
good.
things all day long that we don't even know why we're doing it. And
Right.
so if that's the one driving us, in order to rewire it and heal it, you have to get into the subconscious with God's help.
That is so good. Whew, that is so good because as I've been healing, and it's been me and God. God has definitely showed me so many things that I wasn't aware of. Like, for instance, the men that I dated, honestly, they were responses of past childhood trauma.
Yep.
My lack of trust, like I didn't have a trust in men at all. Why? Because a part of my childhood, there was a man in my life that I wasn't fully trusting, and so it mirrored in the people that I dated.
Yes. Yes, and we don't even know why we're picking them, but we pick
Right.
what's familiar, whether it's healthy or not. And so, I didn't know what healthy was. And I think, again, this is where you and I are alike. I did the
Yeah.
exact same thing. I grew up with an alcoholic father that was emotionally absent
Yeah.
and loved me the best he knew how, but he
Yeah.
gave me nothing. And so I spent my entire life trying to find my worth and validation through the love of a man.
Yes.
We're never going to get it there. It
Talk
comes
to
from
me.
God and ourselves.
And
Yeah.
that was my entire life. I used to think, well, if I could just have a man love me, then I am worthy, or I am this or that. And unfortunately, it took until I think maybe 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. There was a situation I was in. It wasn't really a relationship or situation. And I remember I was giving my all to the situation. I was like, you can have this, you can have that. I told someone earlier, I said, this was my heart. And I was like, here, have it. And I think the person was like, thanks. Thanks. And I'm not gonna really take care of it, but thanks. And when I did that, I had this expectation that if I just gave my all to them, my heart and all of these things, that they would finally like love on me the way that I want to be loved and all this good jazz. It sounded pretty, but it wasn't my reality. And it wasn't until I had God had told me I needed to separate myself. He had told me completely separate yourself from this person, because what God was showing me is that I was idolizing their opinion of me. And I was using their opinion as the standard instead of allowing God to show me what he thought about me. So when I separated myself, this is what happened. I had a dream. I'll never forget it. I don't have any kids in real life. I just have a dog. So in my dream, I was standing in front of a little girl, and as I'm in the dream, the little girl is pretty much in the same situation that I was in, and someone near me asked me the question, "Would you be okay with her settling? Would you be okay with her being where you are?" And I said, "Absolutely not." that's a little, and it was like I wanted to go to the little girl and say, hey, this is not it. You are so much more than this. And that's when I believe God had told me in a dream, then why are you settling? And he started showing me that number one, my purpose is bigger than me. There's a legacy that's attached to me. And if I'm settling here, then why actually I'm settling in a place that God did not deem worthy of me, didn't deem
Wow.
worthy of my purpose. And so
Hmm.
when I woke up from the dream, that was like literally the shifting in my mind where I was like, oh my goodness, I have to let this go. And once I let it go, it was like my eyes started opening. And what's so sad is I thought that me and this person made so much sense. I was like, we could be the perfect happy couple. And when
Yep.
I started healing, I was like, I would have resented them. They were not for me. We didn't make any sense. That's how I knew I was leading myself. And now that I feel like I'm in this place where I can finally see, um, it just, again, goes back to what I said earlier. The things that I used to be attracted to, I'm no longer attracted to. And the person that I am now, the confidence that I have, now it's so different because my confidence now comes from him. It's not coming from Ashley. It's like, no, my dad said that I am heir to the throne. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't I treat myself like
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But it shifted your whole perspective after
Yeah,
seeing that little girl with this horrible person. You're like, oh no, no, we're not doing that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
very much so.
Hmm.
So another question I have for you is still around like the childhood trauma era or space. So I want to know, what is a misconception that you think people have towards childhood trauma?
A lot of times people think childhood trauma is, they think of the big T trauma, like, oh, they were molested
Mm,
or they were, their parent died early. And yes, those are all very valid traumas. But trauma is not the event per se. It's a an event coupled with a deep emotion that who you decide you are in the moment of that trauma. So
oh
it could
wow.
be as simple as a grandmother that through her own programming put you down all the time and they called you stupid or lazy
Mm,
or and a lot of our old school thinking, women men, people did that. I mean, we just didn't know what we didn't know back then. We've come so far
right.
with emotional healing. But a grandma that put their grandchild down all the time, that, over a span of a couple years of being called stupid or you don't know what you're doing, give me that, you know,
Exactly.
you're going to grow up feeling like you're second guessing yourself and you don't know what you're
Come
doing
on.
and you're stupid. That
Yeah.
is trauma. And if you live your whole life that way, or you have it for 7 years, by the time you're 7 year old, you're not going to have any confidence and you're not going to believe in yourself. You're going to second guess yourself.
Right.
So I mean, it can be that simple. I can give you another example. My mother had cancer while she was carrying my brother and I have a twin brother. So while
Oh.
we were in the womb, she had cancer. And as soon as we were born, she not only had one baby to take care of, but two, and she has cancer. And so within 6 months, she went and started getting cancer treatment. And so I was bounced around from, any family member or friend that could take care of me. And there wasn't just one of us, there was two. So,
Yeah.
it was kind of spread thin. And I have had to heal trauma around myself of abandonment. Now,
Mm.
was that abandonment truly real? No, I was very cared for and loved by whoever could help my mother out while she was getting well. But there was two of us, so it was spread thin, and it was
Yeah.
probably, but somehow I grew up feeling that I was abandoned because I didn't
Mm.
get that normal nurturing that I would have gotten had it just been my mom and me all the time with
Yeah.
that bonding. So it was damaged, it was altered, but was I loved and was I abandoned? No.
Mm.
But my programming picked it up and said
Come
I was.
on.
And so my whole life I've had to deal with these abandonment issues that are not even real. So that's another
Come on.
example, of how trauma can be misconceived.
That was a powerful example.
Mm-hmm.
I never considered. I never. That was a powerful example. I remember attending this men's conference. Now, let me explain. I wasn't attending it for myself. I was recording with my business partner. We were recording an event, and I was listening to this group of men share literally their trauma. And one thing that I took away from it was a lot of men were just doing the best that they could with what they knew.
Yep.
So when I had this moment, I thought back to my father and some of the things that I used to not like growing up, and I re-looked at it and I realized that my dad was doing the best that he could with the knowledge that he had. And I remember I ended up having a conversation with him and sharing, like, these are the things that used to bother me. And when I was able to hear his perspective and his how he saw the situation, because we saw it totally different. I see he saw the situation. He didn't see it the way that I saw it. And being able to hear his perspective, number one, it allowed me to look at the situation beyond what I thought it was. I love that you said a misconception is we could possibly we could view it in a way that it wasn't supposed to be viewed. Just like negative comments are so easy to hold on to versus positive ones. Like we could have a very positive experience, but if it's a negative experience buried in that, we'll take that moment and that's what we'll remember. And so you sharing that, I think, whew, that was good. I almost said the doors of the church are open. Anybody want to get their lives back to
Come on
Christ?
in.
That
Come
is
on in.
so that is so powerful. So I want to ask you another question. One of the things that I was inspired by as I looked at your website, your bio, and all of the things that I've seen you doing is that you've had the ability to begin to rewrite the story, rewrite the narrative, reprogram the thoughts. So I want to know, I guess in a simplified version, how can someone begin to rewrite the narrative of their story?
It starts with willingness to get real with yourself,
Yeah.
uh, surrender, surrender to God, surrender yourself, and to throw out every idea that you feel like you've ever known and be like, I'm willing to be humble and relearn all the programming that's been damaged.
That's good.
And that's what we do in the 4 month trauma program that I run. And we deal with influences that have shaped and damaged our programming and thinking and caused trauma in our life. We deal with emotions because in our brain, we have, I call them buckets, they're called gestalts that are part of our reticular activating system. And
Yeah.
our bodies, our brains fill with emotions over our lifetime. And uh, once they're filled, that's where people start having PTSD and
Mm.
ADHD and overwhelm and road rage and panic attacks. And by going in and resetting your reticular activating system, which is like rewiring your central nervous system,
Yeah.
you can have emotional availability again and heal by building new neural pathways of what's been damaged. And so we do influences, we do emotions, and we do those limiting beliefs like I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And that's where you begin and transformate. Like for me, I mean, once I finish the program, they say it takes 2 years to kind of fully, let
Yeah.
everything integrate. But I would say for the end of my 4 month program, my brain was like fireworks just going off. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was possible.
Yeah.
But it begins with willingness.
I like that willingness. I love the words that you use. You say a lot of good keywords. Willingness, surrender. These are powerful words. So before I get to my favorite final question, I want to know more about you and your coaching program. I want to know more about if someone were interested in possibly receiving coaching, how could they get in contact with you?
Well, I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram under Jana England. And I have a website, which is www.beautyfromasheshealing.com. You can book a call on there. It's a clarity call for you to share your story. You can share what traumas you're going through. There's a couple different ways I work programming. Sometimes we just need some simple coaching if you're stuck in one area. Other times I'm like, no, you really need to do the full 4 month trauma program. And so we book a clarity call to see if it's a good fit. I also want to bring safety to the potential people that I work with so that they feel safe and know that they're in good hands with somebody that they're going to work with. And then we dive in. And so that's all done over Zoom. I can work with anybody anywhere in the nation, so it doesn't matter where you're at, you can work with me. And those are the best ways. And then email. So I don't know if you have a way to post those after the call, but they can definitely reach out to me through those options.
So we'll definitely make sure the information is in the Apple and Spotify bio when the replay comes out. But if you guys are interested, again, I'm gonna have her say it one more time. The website again, if you could.
Yes, www.beautyfromasheshealing.com.
And I've also typed it in the chat for anyone who missed it.
Yeah, and there's a spot on my website to book a free call with me. No pressure. I'm never going to force you. If you're not ready,
That's
you're
good.
not ready, and some people aren't. And if you are, then by means, let's get going. Transformation is on the other side.
Yes. We did have some several comments come in that I didn't have a chance to look at. Our initial comment said, "Love the book title, Victim No More. That sounds like an amazing read. Going to add that to my TBR list." Another comment said, "Amen. We do not have to sit in silence with toxicity." Another comment says, "Emotional whiplash. That's good. That was very good." We had another guest come in. "Hey, ladies." Another comment says, "The healed version looks at things of what the unhealed version of myself did. Don't seem appeasing anymore." Another comment. Here, let me show them on the screen. We live and seek approval from the one. Same. I'm a reformed people pleaser. That's so good. God is not the author of confusion. Learning to trust Him before trusting myself. That was a really fire comment.
Wow.
And then, "That is so good. Boundaries have been hard for me, but the more I'm learning about myself and who God created me to be, boundaries come easier." Um, I, I actually want to ask another question based off of that, but another comment we had come in was, "May God reprogram and rewire us and turn our mess into His message." That's so good. That is so good. So before I get to my final question, I actually have one more that was inspired because of the comments. I was about to say the caption, the comments. For you at this point of your life, I want to know, what is one boundary that you've learned to instill in your life?
What's one boundary that I've what?
What's one boundary that you've began to instill into your life for yourself?
I am. I really have tight boundaries with time. Uh, Time management is very important to me, and so I set boundaries with time, and just, as far as being considerate of you and your time, my time, other people's time. And I learn real quickly, if something doesn't feel right to me and it's not a good fit, I'm not going to waste my time. And
I feel that.
yeah, and so time, I think that's probably, I'm very tight with my time. And doing being a coach, I can, and being very active on social media, I can get sucked in real quick with people wanting to abuse my time. And so I'm like, so when my business hours are over, they're over. And yet, in an extenuating circumstance, a servant's life is truly on the line, that I make exceptions. But
Yeah.
um, I like to be very rounded and very well rounded and be present with my granddaughter. So, when that time is up, when my workday is over, I'm going to be present for the other parts of my life so that we can truly be in balance and made us, who God called us to be. We can step into every arena of our life. It's not just about work. It's
Right.
not just about your kids. You got to have that balance.
I definitely have been learning that balance because I think once I started my business, I became a workaholic simply because I like what I do.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
easy to do. Easy to do.
But God also had reminded me, the value of not working all the time. I have learned to embrace like going to do things with my family, going to do things with my dog, even going to do things by myself that just feels fun. Like recently I purchased this travel planner because I realized one of my passions is I really love traveling and not being at home. And so one of my things for myself is let's plan our next trip. Ashley, that's kind of like some me time things. What is my next trip?
Well, I just booked a trip to Spain and I've never done anything like that. I'm going with a girlfriend and the price was right and I'm like it was an easy yes. I'm like, let's do
Yes. I'm so proud of you. This is my new
it.
version of clap it up, clap it up.
Thank you.
Yes, that's amazing. I hope that you have a wonderful time.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yes. So
Hmm.
my final question that I like to ask every single guest is because this show is about mindset and mindset shifts, I want to ask you if you have one mindset shift thinking about where we are right now in our minds and where you would want us to be, what's the shift that happens in between?
It's perception. And you might want to ask yourself, are you seeing this in a negative light or a positive light? And check in with your emotion at the time and pull up what emotion are you feeling and get curious about that. So if you know that you need to have a mindset shift, let's say, your boss upset you and you're angry, but you need to put on a happy face and do something to be positive, how are you going to put yourself out of it? And it's perception and willingness to get curious about the emotion that you're feeling, acknowledge it, surrender it to God and release it.
I like that. Acknowledge it, surrender it to God, and release it.
Hmm. And ask him to help you. I mean, you can't just, okay, make me happy.
Right.
It's saying, God, I feel angry and I feel justified in the angry. My boss made me mad, and yet
Yeah.
I have to pull off a birthday party for someone this afternoon and I want it to be special and I need to be happy,
Yeah.
so acknowledge it. And there's a part of our trauma healing too is acknowledging inner children, our past inner childs, that we
Yeah.
didn't get what we needed. And so sometimes I'll even, sounds a little woo woo, but if pulling them like, okay, so who's angry or who's hurt and
That's
what do
good.
we need to feel safe?
Yeah.
And, in that example, you're just mad that your boss upset you, but there could be something deeper behind it, like an inner child that didn't feel safe that
Yes.
made you feel less than because your boss yelled at you.
Yeah.
So maybe that inner child needs a voice.
Yeah.
They need their voice in that moment. But yeah, perception, acknowledge the emotion, surrender it to God, and release it.
That is so good.
Hmm.
That is so good.
Yeah,
Just
and
thinking on what you said. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that's all. Yeah, I didn't have anything else.
Just thinking on what you said. You dropped a lot of good nuggets. I'm thinking about the child. I had an episode towards the beginning of the season where we had talked about the inner child in us, and I remember the Holy Spirit specifically told me that he had to start healing the little girl in me because the little girl was making decisions. Even though I'm 32
Yes.
years old, the little girl was making decisions. The little girl, like whenever I was scared of getting hurt, the little girl would be the one showcasing my defense or me having this defense mechanism. And I think, just listening to you reminds me of the importance of unpacking the layers from our childhood. Because going back to something you said earlier, it may be things that are happening in our minds subconsciously that are driving our decisions, that are driving our perspective. Because I remember there was an encounter I had with this amazing woman that I loved so much. But prior to me finding this love for her, I used to think that she didn't like me. And I used to think that she was rejecting me. But something the Holy Spirit has shown me was you're looking at you're looking at this as rejection because your lens is broken. And it wasn't until he began to repair the way that I saw things that I stopped taking things. When I say I was taking things as people rejecting me, but it really wasn't like that. It was because I just couldn't see what was in front of me.
Absolutely, and to expand on that, like
Yeah.
your little, let's say it's a 5-year-old that was hurt from that, um,
Yeah.
and feeling insecure and rejected for whatever reason, that is the lens that you're viewing it from, the 5-year-old, and
Right.
if we heal that, and restore that, then your lens can be corrected.
Yeah. and
Absolutely.
and even in the healing, something I had to acknowledge that I'm exactly who God created me to be, and I should be exactly who He created me to be. And so instead of me basing how I behave on somebody else's response to me, because people, they're going to respond however they choose, but if I'm only responding based off of their response, then to me, I'm kind of giving them control over my personality. But when
Yeah.
God started telling me, like, Ashley, embrace who you are, I started realizing that even in those moments where I might have felt rejected, love anyway. Like, I had to go, oh my goodness, it's going back to what you said. I had to reprogram my mind to stop in interpreting it as rejection and using it as love opportunities. And I had to learn to start speaking up. I found that one of the best things we can do as humans is have vulnerable, open, and honest conversations, because there have been several times where people have misunderstood moments with me and taken offense, not realizing my intention was completely separate from what they thought. And the
Right.
same way with me, I've had situations where I've completely misread a moment, and the person, because of an open and honest conversation, the person was able to take away some of those thoughts that I was thinking. I remember one time I was overthinking so much that I was getting angry, and I was about to stop being friends with one of my homegirls. And I had a conversation where I was like, this is what I'm thinking. And I love how she was able to tear down those thoughts. Like, Ashley, this is not real. And that's why I believe the power of, number one, prayer is so important. I believe also within prayer, we also have to be willing to be honest. I love that God says the truth will set you free. I think that we
Yeah.
underplay how powerful the truth is. Will we really be willing to be honest with ourselves? Like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amen. Absolutely. Such good stuff.
Well, guys, we have come to the end of tonight's episode. I just want to say thank you to my special guest for getting on, giving us the wisdom, knowledge, and encouragement that not only you've experienced, but also that you can testify and say because of the goodness of God. So I just want to take this moment just to say thank you for jumping on with me, and I'm so grateful to have had you as a guest tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I just love your heart.
Oh, thank you. So, my friends who are in the chat, I thank you for jumping on in the chat. I thank you for all of you guys' messages as you were tuning into the conversation. And as always, I appreciate you guys. You know, we are here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. If there's anybody that you think would make sense to be on this episode, please go to our website, www.millionaire, mindset x.com, and we look forward to seeing, anybody that you're interested in submitting. So with that, I love you all, and I will talk to you in our next conversation. I wish you adieu. Good night. Peace.